Welcome all to yet another exciting new 3AI Changemaker Circle Thought Leadership Roundtable discussion. Today's topic is generative AI, the new productivity and efficiency frontier. And to deliberate on this, we have a stellar panel of industry experts of what we call the 3AI Changemaker Circle. Saurabh Khemka. Saurabh currently heads AI in Parspec, focusing on developing state-of-the-art solutions for document processing and recommendation systems using NLP, LLMs, and computer vision. He holds a doctoral degree in neurosciences and is passionate about building industrial systems using ML techniques. Soumyaranjan Chaini. Soumya is the growth and GTM leader at Prescience, driving data and AI-led transformation for his enterprise clients. He has been in the industry for 8+ years, highly enthusiastic about technology application, and has been studying its impact on customers and society at large. Puneet Tripathi. Puneet currently is the head of data science at Wakefit. He has got over 13+ years of rich experience across various facets of database solutions, analytics, and interventions in retail, life sciences, investments, and healthcare domain. I am Sourav Ghosh, and I've got Shibaji Chatterjee with me. We will be co-moderating the discussions today. Generative AI has created a tectonic shift in how we interact with and utilize data, with tools such as deep learning and natural language processing, enabling unprecedented levels of automation and reshaping how we collect, process, and extract value from data. Generative AI has the potential to be massively disruptive, with businesses seeking to explore how they can apply the technology. AI is being used by companies of all sizes to optimize their business processes, enhance their products, and realizing efficiencies. Approximately 75% of the value generative AI promises to deliver comes from its application in customer operations, marketing and sales, software engineering, and R&D environments. According to some of the surveys that we have conducted at 3AI through conversations with industry leaders, clearly the relevance and impact is for all to see. So, Saurabh, probably the first question will be to you. What are the broad generative AI capabilities that you see across platforms and solutions that dominates the industry conversations today?
Thank you, Saurabh, for kind intro, first of all. So, see, Gen AI recently came like maybe an year ago, and before this, there was no talk about Gen AI. But since then, there's been a lot of research and a lot of applications has come into the picture, right? So for me, if I look around, the biggest impact I see is for software engineering and how people are going to use Gen AI for their software building, software, implementation, and increase the productivity. There could be other area where we see is content generation. How are you? Because content consuming is one of the biggest area, and most of the industry relies on it. And how did Gen AI capabilities can do content generation quickly for us can enhance the marketing, or the productivity of the people.
Right, right. Somya, what's your view there?
Yeah, I think first of all, thanks for having me here. It's really good to be part of this panel. And I think I have to agree with Saurabh here. The primary capabilities that we see in Gen AI space is content creation, content summarization, and contextualization. Why I said contextualization is it's not only about creating novel contents, because Gen AI has garnered all the eyeballs because it can create you know extensive content, creative content using smaller, very specific or shorter prompts. But I think where it has also given a lot of benefits, efficiency, and productivity is when it can go through a large set of data. It's not only historical data but also real time data that are available on third party web and everything, and give a very contextualized content or information as per our consumption. So be it content, creation, text, image, voice, any kind of content, creating those content as well as contextualizing for industry use cases. I think that's where generative is creating disruptions. It has a lot more other applications as well. I think the other panelists also will discuss about that. Yeah.
Right, right. Puneet, any other unique capabilities that you have come across through any platforms and solutions based on what Saurabh and Puneet already mentioned, Soumya, for that matter, mentioned?
Uh, Thanks for having me, Sourav. Great to see you all here.
Puneet, can you hear us, or is it just me? Okay, we'll circle back to Puneet. Okay, once probably he is back. Sort of going back to you. So it appears that most of the capabilities that we are seeing across generative AI, of course, one part is towards.
Right, summarization and everything has kind of become very easy, and has become a thing of just a small prompt, so to say. The overall techniques with the overall capability towards driving all those initiatives, the turnaround time to deliver those has reduced. Second thing that I believe Gen AI has a huge application towards product side. For example, identifying relevance between products based on relevance or similarity between products based on images processing, based on text processing. All those sort of things have become far more easier than what it used to be about. I think the recording has stopped. Or? Okay. That has become far more easier compared to previous years that I have worked on identifying similarities and everything. There are, and I echo the same thoughts that Soumya and Sourav have said, that it has application across all the industry verticals, be it productivity, be it marketing, it is helping programmers write code or identify snippets of code that are going to be consumed. So yeah.
All right. All right. Good. Yeah. In fact, I have also come across some of these unique use cases. In fact, just yesterday I was reading about one platform, and I'll talk about it a bit later. Text to voice, right? There are in the video generation, in the content curation industries, there are a lot of platforms which are coming with very human-like voice editing capability. So absolutely, I think it's an exciting, evolving space. Let's move on and talk about some of the solutions and platforms which we are seeing specifically in the generative AI space, which is contributing to the whole efficiency and the productivity game. So, Saurabh, over to you again. Uh, what are some of the key platforms and solutions that you have come across in this particular space? If you could talk about some of the functionalities, capabilities that they bring in, and anything else that you want to highlight.
Right. So, sort of, as you said, the research is going on, and a lot new applications will keep coming, like voice to text generation or video generation or something like avatar generation kind of thing, right? But when I talk about software engineering, and that was my first discussion, so you can look into GitHub Copilot, right? GitHub Copilot was one of the earliest launch of LLMs, and it had a great success. It is directly integrated with GitHub, and it can generate the code for you. So what a person can do, or a software engineer can do, they can just go and give a natural language prompt like I want this code or generate this kind of functionality for me, and Copilot can do it for you. Obviously, the solutions will not be 100% accurate, and this is where you have to come in. You have to, give your thoughts or inputs and enhance the productivity there. So it can be used as a productivity tool to enhance the productivity by software engineers. Similarly, if you see, uh, a lot of time, QA and software engineers try to write unit test cases so that their code is bug free and they can take it to production. Using Copilot, it can be very quick. Like what you used to do in 10 days, you can finish it in few hours and quickly ship your product, right? And that is huge enhancement to productivity. Another tool you can look at Cloud. Cloud is one of the content generation platform. So this is more specific and seems to have longer context, up to 100K tokens that it can take into account and create contents for you. It it can be used for assistant, so you can create chatbots or some kind of assistant AI around it, right? So these are two applications that I can talk about and think about right now.
Right.
So,
Uh,
Saurabh, one question from me. So when we were talking about basically this tool, right? Like for example, your cockpit co-pilot, and then at the same time, when you were talking about the other tools, so how good they are, like because there are a lot of tools out there which are similar in nature. So what they're good at, right? So any specific use case, as you are talking about software engineering, debugging. So why they are so famous, or is there anything that you want to, that maybe from the accuracy standpoint, relevance standpoint,
Yeah. So let's talk about Copilot there. Okay.
anything that is special
So
for these tools in the enterprise level?
great. So let's talk about Copilot. Copilot is integrated with GitHub, and most of the software engineers directly use GitHub for their code versioning and maintaining the code base. Now, because it is integrated with GitHub, you can test your code there, do the review activity, or write codes accordingly. Now, when I talk about, where we can use it, we can use it in QA engineering, software testing, software building. Now, because these all large LLMs are based on, past historical data, and if you see the kind of language we have been using in industry, it has been Java prominent industry. Most of the people have used Java. So Copilot seems to give very good results for Java and lower accuracy for other language. But as the time grows and we do more research around it, right? These tools are supposed to develop and enhance accuracy in other languages as well. Now for Cloud A is one of the big competitor of one of the largest platform, and but the advantage of Cloud A is it can generate really large context window. So you can give 10,000 100K tokens, which is really large, and you can generate tokens around it, right? You can generate content around it, and these contents can be used in specific use cases. You can actually tailor it according to your need, and it is more refined in the sense you can in terms of safety and security, it is more pronounced and you can use it accordingly. I hope it answers your question, Sibaji.
Yeah, nice to hear that. And probably I would go to Soumya to understand, right? So any tool that Soumya, you are basically near to that, and you have explored, right? So any kind of tool on the enterprise level or B2C, B2B level that you want to share here.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, definitely. I think, very similar to the Copilot, GitHub Copilot that Saurabh mentioned, right? We have been extensively using a solution called Star Coder, which is definitely on the Hugging Space. And it has been trained on the GitHub codes itself. And this is primarily used in the coding practices. When I say coding practices, it's, in terms of code completion, right? Giving those prompts, right? And if I write an initial piece of code, it tells me, what are the objects, how the framework works, and how exactly I write the rest, set up the code. But and it works for 80 plus languages. Definitely, Python, Java, C Sharp. For some of these languages, the efficiency is pretty high, and then definitely they are also other languages, as Sora mentioned, as the time goes by, there are more and more research, more and more training. I think the efficiency for other languages will also increase. So one is the code completion part, the other one is code conversion, right? It's not only code completion, code conversion. Let's say there's a migration happening from one platform to other platform. How do we exactly, rather than manually identifying those functions, function calls, and then manually translating it to the other environment, how can we automatically have those translated function calls and then migrate these codes really easily. And then the other one is also code optimization. Let's say we have written a piece of code, the entire piece of code, star coder is able to take it in and then share or submit an optimized version of the code, which can be used. So yes, there are a lot of these solutions that we are seeing, but this is one of the solutions where we have had pretty much great success working with the clients as well as building internal products as well.
So in the Star Coder and GitHub Copilot, when we were seeing that, right? So similarity is there, but definitely there will be some differentiator that we know. So now my question is very practical example, right? For example, I have to convert a code from Oracle to SQL, right? So that is one of the use case. Even which tool you prefer, and in your experience, at least what tool you are using it. So are you actually training that with your development data set, or you are basically utilizing the public data set of GitHub or those kind of repositories?
So Sibaji, we are kind of taking a multimodal approach here. So and it depends. As Saurabh mentioned, right? Probably GitHub Copilot is good at generating good Java codes, but what we have seen is Star Coder is very good with Python, C Sharp, and similar kind of technologies, similar kind of programming languages. So you need to understand the capabilities and advantages of each of those tools and also their compatibility, right? We were converting from Azure to Kubernetes, and we tried to find the best fit solutions that works for us. And also from a training perspective, it is pre-trained, but definitely you need to understand, there are certain industry specific, enterprise specific calls. There are certain global function calls that are present in the industries, and in many cases these libraries or these notebooks are written in multiple languages as well. One notebook can be in Python, C, so Scala, and then SQL. There are multiple languages present in one particular notebook. So you need to understand how efficiently you can. And also, I think we when we implemented the solution, it needed certain pre-training. We definitely came up with a library. Okay, if this is the function call, you need to convert it this way. So definitely, both from a training it with the available data that is available publicly, also what we call few shot training, right? Giving certain examples so that the model behaves accordingly. So it definitely depends on the use cases. If it is more generic, we can definitely go ahead with a very foundational model. But yes, if the cases are pretty specific and all, you need to understand and consider a few of those criterias. Yeah, hope that answers your questions, Shivati.
Yeah, probably I'll come back to you for your, yeah, I will come back to you for your next tool, right? Like
Right. Shibaji, are you there? We'll move on. Puneet, just circling back on that topic, what are some of the platforms that you are seeing in your experience?
So I'll touch upon something which I have used recently, which is called OpenAI's Whisper. So we all so I work in a D2C company wherein we have marketing and a customer support and customer experience team in house. So with customer experience team and marketers always want to know what customers are talking about, what is it they have to say. So with customer experience team, we have got a lot of calls for support, for for any pre-sales
Hmm,
during
hmm,
the
hmm,
experience and everything. So Whisper is a platform introduced or a model introduced by OpenAI, which allows you to convert voice and generate transcripts. So it generates a blob of transcripts, and it is basically an automatic speech recognition. It is trained with according to OpenAI, it is trained with more than like few hundred thousand hours of voice, and it is trained on a labeled data which is gathered through communities and through multiple efforts from their end. Uh, it is Whisper is a multi-language and multilingual support, and it is able to identify languages. It is able to identify. It is able to do translation, and it has good support for Indian languages as well. If you use Hindi or Kannada in the conversation, which is usually the case with a lot of these support centers. So there's a lot of conversation which is recorded there. uh, the accuracy suffers when it is multilingual, that somebody pivots from English to Kannada and then back to English. But at an overall rate, it is very good. It is very easily able to identify English and has very good support for multilingual. Multi languages being used within the conversation itself. Another thing, from a technical standpoint, it is an encoder decoder transformer, and it takes inputs and kind of converts into smaller chunks and then tries to decode them. Decoder is basically the part which predicts the next response, and encoder basically divides the overall voice into smaller chunks and then takes one of them as an input and tries to give an output. uh, I think it as a positive side of this, it will be like it is able to it has speech recognition, speech translation, language identification, multilingual support. Can also work with noise. Even if there is a background noise, it is able to kind of take care of it within its within the tool itself, within the model itself. It is an open source model, so you have to kind of deploy it on your server. I'm not very sure whether OpenAI still gives Whisper as a API as well. I'm sure among other offering they also give it at the same cost. For 1,000 tokens, they take something like 2 cents or 4 cents. But what we have done is we have deployed it on a server. It is better to deploy on a GPU than a CPU. What we observed, it on a CPU, it usually takes 4 to 5x more time than what it takes on GPU. Some of the drawbacks that we saw was it generates a text blob. So, for take example for this conversation, there are things that you are saying, Saurabh. There are things that Shibaji is saying. There are things that I am saying. It will generate everything in a line by line manner, word by word manner. Then you have to take things and add context on top of it. So, but still, as far as the transcription and language identification and language support is considered, it is pretty remarkable. So that
Understood.
is one Whisper as a platform that I would like to kind of make everybody.
How, I mean, coming back to the main theme around efficiencies and productivity, and that's a question to all three of you. How much, if you were to quantify in very early days of generative AI, how much productivity or efficiencies typically you are seeing in all of these functions? For example, Puneet, you spoke about customer care, right? You are getting customer calls around pre-sales as a process, around product inquiry, maybe around certain transactions, online transactions. Any broad numbers of percentage efficiencies that we are seeing in specific use cases where these are being implemented?
So I'll be able to touch upon to some of these things at a very high level. I'll not
Yeah,
be
yeah.
going into it. Will not be able to divulge a lot of data on that. But so usually what happens is with all these support functions, there is always a QA team, because the job of QA team is to listen to these recordings, listen to these individual calls, and map whether all the inputs provided by the agent, questions asked were answered or not. What is the quality overall quality of conversation that happened? Was the customer satisfied or not? With this, we are able to identify what dispositions customer, what topics and dispositions customers were talking about. What was their overall? What were different themes that customers were talking about? Were the questions answered? and if they were answered, what were the kind of sentiments that these customers were saying. Now tonality is something which we are not able to identify yet, because
Mm,
like I said, it produces a blob, but overall sentiment from the usual the older NLP models that we have built in past, we're able to generate what kind of sentiments is being also is being communicated with, or at least depicted with from the conversation. So the QA team is usually 10-15% of the 10-15% of your overall customer support strength, because you need to have that workforce with you in order to make sure that the quality of conversation is always there. The idea is that those teams will get very good qualitative support or quantitative support from the beginning.
support.
That the
Are you
overall
seeing benefits on the ground, Puneet? Are you
sorry.
seeing benefits on the ground in terms of, are you seeing real benefits on the ground in terms of scaling down teams, handling more volumes with less people, those kind of stuff happening?
So, as far as support and calling is concerned, I don't think there is a direct support right now. We have tried a bunch of AI tools there, but uh, a lot of them are not up to the mark, and because the question that customer asks are very unpredictable. But as far as this quality side, QA side of the things are concerned, we are able to reduce time taken to process a call. Overall, if they were able to maybe QA 5% of the call at a daily level, now they're able to process 15% or 20% of the calls as well, because they don't have to go through the entire call. If they see something off within the call, within the transcription, summarization, or the topics generated, something conflicted, then only they have to listen to the call. Now, earlier, if they had to, everybody had to listen 50 calls and go through the transcription. Now they're able to get a lot of those things right out of this, so to say, voice of customer that we have been able to build.
Puneet,
Does
one
that
thing from my Yes.
go ahead,
So
Shivaji?
one thing probably we all can touch upon, right? So when we are talking about this tool, right? So these tools are coming up very, very fast when basically from last 1 year, or I would say some months. So when we look at those tools, we look at those tools in two different ways. Like one is like, okay, they can be a SaaS solution and they can be an on-prem solution. Like you can install it and then you can use it, right? So all this tool, what we talk about, if all of you can touch upon, like, so what kind of implementation you prefer? Maybe they have both the option, but what kind of implementation you prefer, and how easy it is. Do you need a lot of support from those guys as a backend support if something is not working? Because we all talk about technical accuracies and those things, right? So in case your tool itself is having some issue, maybe are you going to report some cases with them? How these things are happening? So mainly the hosting part and also the supportability from those organizations.
Okay. So Whisper is one process which can be deployed on a server, and as a company that deals with a lot of customer data, and I think this is case with almost all the organization, and there are other people who are far more capable of answering what their customers prefer. But what I feel is companies like us prefer to have, because we deal with a lot of customer data, a lot of PI data. The conversations that are happening are pretty, they may not be intimate, but they're very intense, and they're revealing a lot. And sometimes people say things that they won't say otherwise to customer care, because they're frustrated, because they're happy, or they don't like certain things, they will like something very much. So I can't imagine that something went to some other server, and that server got hacked, and because of that a detail of some of my customers are out there. So the preference would be if there is a possibility of having it on prem. And I think these days on prem is not as desired. The definition of on prem have become on my VPC. So if it can be on my VPC, I'm more than happy. I can with the level of security that we have, if there is a failure, there is anything, I'm able to detect it, I'm able to respond to it. So that is my preference. Again, there are different organizations which are in different stages. Organization which are in 0 to 1 state, they focus on speed more than everything else. So for those, or for experiment's sake, if I can if I'm experimenting on certain things, if I'm just building a POC, then even I would want to use the inbuilt API. Now the problem with that is that my data goes to some other country, because a lot of these large players don't have their APIs. Even some of the APIs that OpenAI even provides, they don't have an implementation in India. So I know that my data is going outside of the country, and with the tabled bill and everything for security, a lot of these concerns become very real.
I
And
think,
if the
yeah, I think you are right. Yeah, I think you are absolutely right, right? So that's how we should look at it from the implementation standpoint when we are talking about all the solution and platform, but how easy they are and how we are comfortable to implement with our PI information, masking them, and all this other aspect. So enterprise solution is different. So I will go to Sourav next, and then probably come back to Soumya. So Sourav.
So there are two parts of the discussion that was going on. One was efficiency, one was like how we can deploy. I agree with most of the points that Puneet has already covered, and it's quite extensive analysis that Puneet was sharing. Now, in terms of efficiency, if we look at, let's say I talk about Copilot, right? So Copilot is a application, right? You can use it for code generation. Now, how can it improve your efficiency? So what I have seen, let's say in my example or my team example, when we have to write some, let's say a code for pre-training a model, right? And instead of writing it everything on my own, which can take a day, I can just go on Copilot or any other application and say, okay, I want to write I want to retrain a model using this application or this model. Can you do it for me? And it will suddenly write entire code base for you. And the time that was going to take an hour or 2 hours for you, it was just reduced to 5 minutes. Now you have to just optimize on it anyway, because no one can write perfect code in one go. It takes a lot of time, right? But your time that it was going to take earlier, your productivity has increased significantly, and I easily see a 10x improvement in productivity, right? And obviously efficiency can also be looked into picture. Let's say you have a code and okay, there's some bug, and you can paste it down and see, try to analyze, okay, where is the bug, can someone figure it out for you? And if Copilot can do it for you, it's quite good, right? You don't have to invest so much time and energy to figure out the bug. And this overall increases the efficiency of code development. You can ship the products really quick, like in a couple of days that used to take a month. Now, Copilot is okay. Now I was going to ask, how will I love to have it, like on premise or on cloud? Copilot does not provide you on premise service. It is integrated with GitHub and you have to use it on their server, or it will be hosted, right? So obviously, I would love to have on premise solution, because it's my code, I don't want to share. But again, we are relying on public database. So Copilot is creating code based on publicly available code, and this is the trade off between the on-premise and hosted solution. So yeah, to keep it short, on-premise is always a good solution, but sometimes it's not possible. So you go with the hosted ones and use the API as available.
Yeah. So, Soumya, your point, anything that you want to share from the probably from the implementation side, from the I would say that hosting part, or maybe the pricing, right? So, anything that you can touch upon would be good.
I think just to add to what Saurabh mentioned regarding productivity and efficiency, right? One thing is, and maybe before that, a disclaimer that every generative AI solutions nowadays provide that don't take it at the face value, right? We are a assist, and we are not saying that this code that we are generating or providing is absolutely best fit for you. It's there's a difference between best and best fit. And it's so that's why we say it is an assistant, it is not going to take away anybody's job. So that's the discussion all around. And the efficiency and productivity we can see or measure in two aspects, right? One is on the time, savings, time and effort saving. As Saurabh was mentioning, that automation part, even our case we saw, the conversion, it took us maybe 3 months to build that parser or with that converter. But that kind of reduced the uh, time, conversion time by more than 80%, but 90%. But we had to do a lot more due diligence testing and verification to understand whether that has been done or not. Okay, maybe we saved a lot of time in terms of conversion, but we had to put additional effort in the testing and verification and validation of the code. So definitely that's one aspect of looking at, it is definitely helpful in time saving time and effort. The other aspect is also improving the performance and optimizing the usage of your resources, because a lot of computing power is needed, storage is needed, and an optimized code is always better, right? Your application performs well, customer experience, everything that goes along with it. So definitely those business values, I think, if I don't know how to quantify them, but yes, in terms of optimizing the performance and improving the code base, it also helps in that particular aspect in the productivity and efficiency. And when we come to the deployment aspect, right, so the name itself suggests that it's a large language model, and to train them, to host them, we need extensive computing power, we need extensive cost that most of these companies cannot afford. But yes, for larger enterprises, whether it is Azure, OpenAI, whether it is any other large language model, they can afford to host it on their premise, train it and all. But yes, Star Coder, we kind of have it on our premise, we are uh, training it, we are deploying it, considering its safety and security, because we are able to afford it, we can afford it. So one is definitely accessibility. Saurabh mentioned, right, certain platforms don't provide you to have that on your premise, they want to have it in their environment, and you to use it as an API call or tokens. But in certain cases, wherever you can afford, wherever it is feasible, you can definitely have it on premises, because most of these things, whether it is code, whether it is customer data, whether it is anything, right, it has a lot of security and data safety and security aspects associated with it. So wherever you can, you do it. But there are multiple aspects: accessibility, affordability, and your long-term viability as well. Do you want to use that? This, the evolution is happening very fast. Some new tool might come tomorrow which performs much better, right? You don't want to stick to one particular tool on in the long run. So considering multiple different aspects, we as companies as well as customers take the call whether to have it on their premise, or whether to have it consume it as APIs. And in case of Star Coder, as I mentioned, it's an open source tool, so we can simply copy the source code, have it on our premises. The effort or the pricing or whatever the spending happens is on the training and uses of that. It definitely takes storage, computing. You need training, you need resources to manage it and all. So most of these costs goes towards that particular aspect.
Right. Valid thought, Soumya, I think. Few days ago, I came across another solution, which is around task automation. It's called Bardeen AI. It's an AI platform, basically, which is replacing all repetitive tasks, like switching between apps and websites. A lot of functions in agents, right? In customer care function or in marketing and sales operation, we see agents toggling screens. You have to go into a website, you have to go into an application, copy the data, put it into another. And this is where actually Bardeen actually is quite helpful, right? And it runs on your browser, so the data really never leaves your domain. I've seen multiple use cases being executed, right, in the area of sales and prospecting, recruitment, screening profiles, data research, and web scraping. It has got 50 plus integration with leading applications, with all of the Google productivity suite, whether it is Google Sheets, Gmail, WhatsApp, and LinkedIn as well. I was also keen to see how some of these tools are pricing. right? What kind of pricing plans do they have? I think almost all of these, right? I spoke about Bardeen, I spoke about Merv AI, which is another voice editor. They have a free basic plan, right, which typically gives you access for a few hours or a few days. And then it goes, they have a scaled up pricing from individual to an enterprise, right? Okay, running between 10 to $20 to $75 a month, right? So that's are some of the tools that, in fact, I have been seeing in the recent past. Let's move over possibly to talk about some of the industry domain specific use cases, right? So we have touched upon what generative AI capabilities are. We have touched upon some of the platforms and solutions that we are seeing in this space are getting traction. Um, Lastly, I think it's important to contextualize all of these capabilities, the platforms, as to how they're benefiting industries on the ground, right? Whether it is banking, whether it is healthcare, retail, if all of us can touch upon at least an industry of sorts, an industry use case, and if possible, another business process use case. It could be in customer service, it could be in finance and accounting, it could be in R&D. Let's go around the table. Puneet, Saurabh, anybody wants to start off, or Soumya for that matter?
Uh, yeah, I think. Okay, sorry, I lost my brochure.
No problem. I'll
Yeah.
start maybe.
Yeah,
Somewhere you want to go ahead, or
Puneet,
should I
probably
start?
you can start,
No,
and
Puneet, you
then
can
go
start.
ahead.
I'll
Go ahead.
follow up.
we'll come back.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think there's a lot happening within the e-com and retail segment, for the reason that these industries are slightly less regulated than others. And
Mm,
not to say that nothing is happening in healthcare or in finance, but healthcare and finance being regulated, and advisories and authorities always keeping a very close eye on what is happening and how they're handling PI data, because a lot of very sensitive information is involved there. So I think the overall understanding takes overall the entire paradigm is very different as far. Just give me a second, please.
sure.
Yeah, maybe during that time we can go to Saurabh. So Saurabh, if you want to
Yes,
touch
Saurabh, go
upon
ahead.
some
yes.
industry
Sorry,
use
I'm back.
cases.
In case, yeah, we can go to Sourav and then I can come
Okay.
in. Or I'm really sorry. I had my daughter stepped in.
Yeah, Saurabh, please
That's
go.
okay.
No worries. No worries
No,
for
no
me.
problem.
Thank you. So, uh, when we look into applications in different industries, so let me give you an example of, let's say, cloud, right? So cloud is content generation, right? And how we can use it, let's talk in customer service. Okay, so again, as um, said, customers are focus of multiple, almost all the industry, right? We are customer focused industry, and some of the industries rely on customers a lot, and there's a lot of discussions going on with customers. So it could be like, customer support. So a lot of chat that needs to go between customer support executive and customers, and the context is quite large, and you know the customer started with something, ended somewhere else, and then went back to the again the same context. So someone needs to understand, and this is why we always prefer to have a personalized or a person who can answer our query, because they can understand the context. The large language models have changed it, right? Because they can take into a large context. So let's say 100K tokens. It's a really large sentence, can cover up to 30 pages of PDFs or so, right? And this helps them in understanding the entire context and respond accordingly. So customer support, they can actually work as your personalized customer support, who can take over multiple queries, answer and guide the customers in certain direction, right? And it can efficiently manage the queries. So this is one of the applications, I would say.
All right. Puneet?
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe Puneet, you are back. So
Yeah,
back
I'm back.
from your side.
So I'll maybe quickly summarize what I was saying, that from where I come from, it is easier to experiment on a lot on these platforms and tools in retail, because whatever helps customer in their decision journey is always desirable, and if it can help reduce one hop from the overall funnel, then there is nothing like it. And other thing is that since it is relatively less, not relatively, it is actually less regulated than finance and healthcare and some of the domains that basically handle a lot of customer sensitive information. So it is easier to see adoption in retail, which is what we're seeing in e-commerce and in-store, out of the store retail. As far as individual verticals, or so to say, use cases pertaining to, I think I'm seeing generative AI penetration in pretty much everywhere, or at least my leaders that I speak with, or business leader that I speak with, they are asking this: can it have? So I've heard people asking me, can it have uh, application in manufacturing? I don't know how much of that is possible right off the bat today, but essentially it is in their minds now. Now, coming to overall application when it comes to different departments, I think some of the departments like customer experience, channel for sales, I think overall this chat based ordering systems, people are ordering on WhatsApp. Why not have a context driven chat system which can not just book an order, or take an item to place an order for, but from the context, from your needs, it can decipher from the themes that you're selecting for your house. It can identify what is the best suited product, or list of best suited products for you. So ha- as a sales channel, as a customer experience help, as a tool for marketers to do initial ideation or do initial research, generative AI is playing a vital role. I think uh, the same marketers who were generating X number of ideas are generating 2x number of ideas, and are doing that faster than ever, if I can say so. So the metric gains, or the overall gains that it gives, is definitely in terms of productivity, efficiency, being more versatile in being putting your creativity forward. But essentially, it is, in my opinion, it is touching customer experience at all fronts, marketing, and definitely I'm seeing a desire to implement it across different channels. And like Saurabh touched upon in the initial, that it definitely have application in software engineering. So that is an obvious case here. Thank you.
Soumya.
Yeah, Shivaji. So I think there are a couple of aspects, two aspects that you mentioned, right? One is the industry and the function. Probably I'll cover the industry aspect first, and then maybe next round we'll touch base on the functional aspect. So I think one word that Puneet mentioned initially was creativity, right? And I think the primary aspects where Gen AI differs from the traditional AI is, I can see, at least three of them: adaptability, creativity, and versatility, right? Which the traditional AI doesn't have. And right now we see an ensemble model. It's not that the Gen AI acts independently. It usually acts in coherence or in collaboration with the traditional AI models to work better. And there are a couple of aspects. One is I said the creativity, and then earlier we discussed about so many tools, right? Whether it is text generation, whether it is image generation, there are so many tools that are coming up, whether it is Mid Journey, Stable Diffusion. Adobe has released its Adobe Firefly. I think 100 number of LLMs which can generate text and content, right? So that kind of has transformed the marketing and advertising industry. So whether it is SEO, whether it is running email campaigns, automating email campaigns, personalized email campaigns, or creating images or videos for that matter. Automotive companies are now completely automating. I mean, automotive companies, they have completely automated some of those automotive companies. I know, in collaboration with Nvidia, Pixar, and Adobe and all, they have completely automated their, the visual marketing campaigns. They are not creating any images. They are not creating any, campaign headlines. The solution itself is doing everything on its own. There are quite a few companies who are doing product design. I'm kind of including it in marketing, because I mentioned about creativity. So there are quite a few people, the design, evaluation, product design, new product design, they are doing it through generative AI. And definitely, as I mentioned earlier, it's not that whatever generative AI throws up, we kind of take it, accept it, and move ahead. There are experts who kind of evaluate it, to once again validate it, and then take it to the market. But definitely, there's a huge transformation in the marketing and advertising industry, which is already there. We talk about WPP, partnering with Nvidia, creating their own applications, own solutions. So all these marketing companies, with the wealth of data and knowledge they have, and the capability of Gen AI, are all set to transform the marketing and advertising industry. At least that's what I see. And I think I'll I why I mentioned creativity, we have the theme is productivity and efficiency. But more than productivity and efficiency, in case of marketing and advertising, there's a third dimension, which is creativity, that is getting transformed here. So probably slightly off the theme, but I think that's one of the key aspects I thought we could cover.
Mm.
Yeah, so Soumya, I think you have touched upon a very good point, right? And recently, or I would say for many months, whenever we are seeing this marketing campaign, be it from different organization, from beverage like Heineken and different other aspect, right? So we are seeing a lot of trend that is happening for the marketing industry and the training industry, right? So I have two of the use case that I want to touch upon. So one of the use cases is Mid Journey. So many people is aware of Mid Journey, as you also mentioned. So Mid Journey is a one platform where you can convert your text to image, and those accuracies, those aspects are really cool. And so that many companies who has been in the, for example, in the fashion industry or in the e-commerce industry, who used to create a lot of products images, a lot of images for their campaign, their, for example, the product training program, and all of these things they are doing it through those aspect, right? And another aspect that I want to talk about, you also touch upon that, like how we are converting text to video. So Synthesia is a very renowned company now, which is converting the text into video and kind of capturing the market of, I would say that the avatar, right? So where you give some text, you ask some question with the based on generative AI and other generative AI related capabilities. They will not only extract the data, but also they will basically create the video out of it. So we can use it for customer service, for our knowledge article creation for the video. We can create it for our product related campaigns. We can create for any of the social media posting. So a lot of things. So nowadays actors are not coming to the studio, but their digital twin are coming and sharing all this thing in that, right? And the pricing are varying from your general use to enterprise use, and they are open to discussion, open to basically discuss about their pricing and all that. Recently I came across another solution called Eli.io. So this solution is also providing real-time avatar. So for example, currently I can talk to the avatar, I can ask some question, and on the real time it will not only create the video, but it will actually talk to you like your customer service. So this is a very good use case, those are coming. And those companies are becoming more and more prominent, right? So and that's how we have to talk about, right? Okay, it is touching the many of the business function, be it from the HR standpoint, where you are fetching the information from the HR policies, be it from the training standpoint, when you are onboarding one associate, and then basically for the customer service, Sourav has touched upon most of the, I think Puneet has also touched upon, customer service is a big use case. And then from the marketing standpoint, how you can actually market the data. And then many of us, we have touched upon about basically how the things are happening in the software industry, because many of our industries are IT industries where we belong, many of us, and we also belong with the retail industry and different supply chain industry. And we are seeing a lot of things that are redundant we used to do, and we felt that okay, this is one of our job, and those all these jobs will be augmented by these platform and technologies. Many other platform and technologies are coming, like from ServiceNow, from Salesforce. They are coming with generative AI related platform and capabilities. But healthcare is also one of them where a lot of work is happening from the generative AI related capabilities. So I think today we touched upon many of them where we have seen that productivity and efficiency is the pivot, and where everybody is rushing. So productivity is efficiency is coming when somebody can summarize your things, somebody can co-author along with you, like upon some of the task automation. If you do a natural language based task automation, definitely there are different layers where you will have certain point of tools and solution that is based on your generative AI. But after that, you have an augmentation through API, augmentation through scripting, right, in the back end, so that it is fully self-sufficient, self-automated. In that way, we have to look at. So generative AI will not solve all the issue, but it will make it very simple where your automation can be triggered by your natural language. And when we talk about the code conversion, it is a very big use case because many of the organizations are still in legacy and they want to grow with the code, no code, and also in the latest technology like Python instead of coding it into mainframe and all of this. So a lot of changes are there, and all these migration changes will get a lot of benefit from this code conversion. First thing, right? What Soumya was mentioning, and then Puneet mentioned about the Whisper. So Whisper is more of where it's a speech recognition solution, which will be a very good use case for any of the interaction that we are doing with our customer, with our client, with internally, and also many of the use case that we are using probably in our mobile devices and all that, right? So a lot of things are going to change eventually. So with that, I would give it to Saurabh. And Saurabh, back to you.
Uh,
Sure.
uh, uh,
Uh, I think, yeah,
yeah,
was someone
Saurabh,
trying to say something?
yes, and I think just to add to what Shivaji mentioned, right? Most
Sure.
of the solutions that we kind of covered are open source solutions, right? And then there are quite a lot of enterprise solutions that companies are coming up with. You
Mhm.
mentioned a couple of them, right? Salesforce has its Salesforce Einstein. Then Pega has its own solution. You have SAP, and they're calling it as their co-pilot. And I think why I kind of intervened is the theme is productivity, and the objective of those co-pilots are productivity. So the essence is productivity, right? We have so many applications. If we talk about SAP, very recently, earlier this year, they announced SAP Joule. They have not rolled it out to all the solutions, all the users, but they have announced it and they have showcased what are the capabilities it can have. And Saurav, you mentioned, right? Rather than toggling through multiple applications and then creating those charts, extracting
Yeah.
those numbers, when you have an assistant, when you have a co-pilot who can do all those tasks for you, right? Retrieve those information, present it in a, whether it is graphs or table, in whatever format you want, representation, also creating process map, creating applications, and there are a lot that these applications can do when it comes from such enterprise clients with a lot of capability. And the
Right.
primary objective is increasing the productivity, and the second is ensuring user adoption, right? When it you give them too many trainings, there are so many screens, so many applications, user adoption is not that great. But when you have a single interface through which you can access all the information, summarize, and then present it, the user adoption increase, and most importantly, the productivity improves multifold. So just wanted to add that because Sivas brought that up. Yeah, right.
Absolutely. No, no, I think you ended up on the right note in terms of enterprise solutions building these capabilities. I mean,
Yes, yes.
just a thought comes to my mind, analytics as a demand, right? So we are piloting one use case around insights on demand. And all of us know Power BI itself, Microsoft itself is
Yes, yes,
building the
yes.
capability wherein you can generate charts and graphs on demand. So I
Yes.
think thanks everybody for the great insightful session. I think at least I am going back with lot more informed, with lot more knowledge than what I had earlier today about how generative AI is impacting various industries, how various platforms have strengths in certain industries, in certain business process functions, how various platforms are also flexible to customer demand as to how they would need to be hosted. They are flexible about their pricing plans. I think everybody is trying to figure out how best to serve customers' interest in this particular space. So thanks everybody. Thanks for your time. Thanks for this great insightful session. I'm sure our audience would also love some of the insights that they have got from all of you, the panelists. And thanks for your time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aditya. Thank you.